My mother-in-law demanded to wear white and walk down the aisle at my wedding, so I gave her an ultimatum that destroyed her relationship with her son. Have you ever seen I Love a Mama's Boy? Well, that's my life. Me and my fiancé Jonathan have been together since high school. Well, we would have been if his mother Deborah didn't convince him to break up with me because we were too young for love. Luckily, we got back together during sophomore year. In response, not only did Deborah have a psychotic breakdown where she found my phone number and left me nasty voicemails, but she also tried to convince Jonathan I had done evil witchcraft on him. Most people in my situation would not have taken this, but I've been raised to not talk back to my elders because Deborah knows that she abuses it. For the last few years that me and Jonathan have been together, she has tried to hook him up with her friends' daughters, her older coworkers, and even her book club friends. When Jonathan refuses to go on dates with them, Deborah calls me controlling because I won't let him have a little fun. You're probably wondering, does Jonathan ever say anything back to her? Well, he has told her to stop, but more in a half-hearted, barely bothered and timid way. Not exactly a put his foot down and set clear boundaries kind of way. I've asked him so many times, but he always just says I should know how his mom is and that she wouldn't like confrontation. 3 months ago, Jonathan proposed, but Deborah didn't come to the engagement party. To avoid both sides meeting, she refused to attend the family dinner. I honestly didn't care, but I appreciated it when Jonathan's dad came and apologized for his ex's behavior. The problems really began when Jonathan decided to actually confront his mother about how she was behaving toward our whole engagement. Instead of taking any accountability, she gave him a sob story. Apparently, our engagement is super triggering to her because she got pregnant with him before marriage and never got to have a wedding. The only way she'd feel comfortable during our wedding is if she wore white and I wore soft pink or lavender. When my fiancé recounted this to me, I expected him to laugh at how ridiculous the whole thing was, but instead, we spent the next 10 minutes somehow arguing about whether or not I should let his mom walk me down the aisle so she could get a moment in her white dress at my wedding. He used the words petty and selfish. I just cried. When I didn't feel like crying anymore, I met up with Jonathan. Thankfully, he was actually sorry. He told me he had talked to his friend and admitted to initially thinking he was correct, but then his friend told him it was a problem. This broke my heart because when I, his fiancé and future mother of his kids, say it's a problem, I'm being dramatic, but when another male friend says it, it makes sense. I was too tired to sugarcoat it. I told him he's easily manipulated. He immediately went super quiet, so I knew he got the point. I told him there would be no wedding if he didn't straighten up. After everything that happened, I needed more reassurance. I asked him what role she would play in our wedding, childbirth, Mother's Day, and everything to come. Would I always come second place? I told him if he really cared about having me in his life, he had to prove it. Go low contact with his mother and take no more input from her about the wedding, which will be postponed for a year. On top of that, he has to go to counseling, both individually and as a couple. We agreed to go to Deborah's house with Jonathan's dad, Dan, and my dad tagging along. Jonathan said he would tell his mother that she couldn't under any circumstance make our wedding about her. He also said if she cried or tried to guilt trip him, he would tell her he's going no contact. We got to Deborah's and Jonathan got right into it. He bluntly told her that her actions toward me for years had been petty. Not showing up for our wedding events was unacceptable. He flat out asked her why she has a problem with me. Deborah acted like she had no idea what he was talking about, saying she loves me like a daughter. Jonathan asked her to be honest and named all the times she'd insulted me to my face and behind my back, mentioning she'd told him he could do better every time I wasn't around. Deborah was livid. She genuinely couldn't believe he outed her like that. She started going off on him, calling him disrespectful and saying he was disrespecting his own mother for an outsider. She kept saying, I know she made you do this. When Dan and my dad came inside, Deborah became a different person. She turned to them and said Jonathan had just started yelling at her because of me. My dad looked at me and I shook my head no. She went back to denying she didn't like me. They all told her the dress request was shameful. She immediately replied that it's shameful I won't let her son spend time with her, even though he goes to her house minimum 3 times a week. Jonathan asked her what the real issue was. Deborah said once he got with me, his grades dropped and he stopped making time for family. She said the fact that we had the engagement party without checking how she felt was wrong. My dad pointed out that she didn't pay for the engagement dinner to have any input. Dan asked what she was thinking, wanting to wear white at our wedding. Her face got red and she went off, telling Dan that maybe if he had properly married her and given her a real wedding, she wouldn't feel left out. Jonathan finally told his mom he couldn't keep defending her when she wouldn't try to respect me. He said he's going low contact for his sanity and our relationship. Deborah started crying, saying Jonathan couldn't leave her for dead. She's the only mother he'll ever have. Mothers are forever, wives are not. She started going off, saying I'm doing something to her son, that I'm a manipulator, and told my dad he raised a demon. My dad shot back at her to watch her mouth. She started hyperventilating, gripping Jonathan's arm, saying she couldn't breathe. As we walked out, I felt terrible and told Jonathan I understand if he felt bad. He said he knew she was faking it, but his instincts wanted to make sure she was okay. My dad told Jonathan that his mom needed help with her mental health. Jonathan cried because he watched his mom villainize him and tell others that he just walked in and verbally abused her. He decided to go no contact for now. We called counselors in our area and got our first couples therapy session scheduled. Jonathan got an individual therapy appointment too. The ball is rolling and he seems on the same page as me, though I know this is killing him inside.